So Teagues, for a long time I've said, who on earth would buy a BMW R1250 RT when you've got the BMW R1250 RS and the BMW R1250 GS?
But you just took one around Tassie, so the question is, did it change your mind? Before we get into the specs of the bike, where did you take it?
So I did a tour with a group of mates, and we started in Sydney, headed down to Nowra, through Nerriga, down to Bombala, and then we did the Bonang Highway into Orbost. That was awesome.
Nice.
From there, out to Geelong, we did a quick trip across to Lorne for lunch, back to Geelong on the ferry, and then it was a lap of Tasmania.
Hey mate, how are you?
So we started in Devonport, headed to Penguin. First night was in Tulla. That was awesome. Helier Gorge was fantastic. Second night we stayed at Medina and we did this beautiful ride out to the Gordon Dam through Strathgordon. That was probably my highlight of the trip. Into Hobart, third night in Port Arthur, up to Scamander, back to Launceston, little bit of a detour. We did end up in a little town called Ross, which we weren't planning on going there, and I'll get into the reasons of why we weren't planning on going there or how we ended up there later. But I knew I'd been to Ross before, this town, and there's a pie shop called the Ross Village Bakery, and they do the best Luxa scallop pie.
Ooh, yum.
Sensational. And so myself and the boys, we had that, followed by the world's best vanilla slice, which we bought, I think, 2 of them and shared because they were massive and they were delicious as well.
I would have eaten them all to myself.
Yeah, you would have. And then back to Devonport, onto the ferry, and then Geelong to Jindabyne, massive day but awesome day of riding, and then home.
Damn, so a little bit of riding then.
Just a bit. Okay, so it might be easier to start with what I didn't like about the R1250 RT.
Okay, rewind then. All right, so Ross, what didn't you like about it?
So the only thing, and I can say this perfectly honestly, the only thing I didn't like about the bike was the app. And that's not even part of the bike.
I mean, technically it's connected.
Yeah, like, so the app, it was just, I found it really hard to use and it's a bit ordinary. Mostly to do with navigation.
Yeah, which is kind of important.
It is, because the screen is awesome. You got great navigation on the screen, but getting the app to work and connect, and you have to leave your phone open and leave the app open, it was just, it took a while to get used to.
And you had to download the map for each region.
You had to download maps for each region. That's not a big issue. That was pretty easy to do. But I found I couldn't put in, I mean, maybe you can do it. I couldn't do it. Couldn't put waypoints. So basically, you can only put in one destination.
Right, yeah.
And so I couldn't work out how to do it. So what I ended up doing was using the Beeline app, putting in my waypoints, selecting a fun route, and then exporting a GPX file, and then importing that into the BMW app, which sometimes worked and sometimes didn't, hence the detour to the Ross Village Bakery.
I see. Okay, so obviously there was a lot that you did like about the bike. Let's narrow it down to what you loved.
Everything else.
Great.
So, like, I love the engine on this bike, and it's the same 1250cc shift cam that's in the GS, 1250, the RS, and the R. It's 143 newton meters at 6,250 RPM, so it just cruises along without any fuss.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so what about the range of this? Because this is a big and a heavy bike.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel heavy when you're riding it.
Yeah, okay.
The fuel range is excellent. So it's got a 25 litre fuel tank, and I consistently got about 4.75 litres per 100 kilometres, and that was awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, that was excellent.
And what about the comfort of that bike? I mean, it looks comfy.
Yeah, like, I was thinking about this, and at one point I could feel some vibrations coming through the handlebars.
Okay.
Which was a good thing because it just reminded me that I was actually on a motorcycle and not on a lounge chair.
Yeah.
But the comfort is where this bike really shines. It's got a massive front to the bike, and it really does protect you from the weather.
Yeah.
And the wind and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Particularly with the electronic screen.
Because it covers your hands as well, right?
Covers your hands.
Yeah.
We were actually joking. We all had comms going, and one of the boys said, "Hey, you going back there, Ross?" I'm like, "Well, my elbows are a bit cold." Like, literally the only wind hitting me when I had the screen up was on the tips of my elbows.
Yeah, wow.
When you put that screen up, it's like you're in this little sphere of serenity.
Yeah.
There is just no wind hitting my face. There was no wind hitting my chest. I could actually ride with my visor up. It was literally no wind. But then when I wanted to get a bit of breeze through, dropped that screen down and was getting not turbulent air hitting my helmet, but it was just nice breeze coming through. We had some sportier roads, like I mentioned, Helier Gorge.
Yeah.
Screen down, tucked in, and the bike was absolutely awesome. Now the electronics work brilliantly and they're really unobtrusive. The rider modes, it's got rain, road and dynamic. I pretty much left it in dynamic.
Yeah.
I occasionally put it into road mode, which did make the ride a little bit more plush, but dynamic is basically where I left it. The radar cruise control on this is flawless. It's right up there with the cruise control, radar cruise control on the, what was the bike we had? The Tracer 9 GT Plus.
Yeah.
It was absolutely brilliant. I have no other words for it. It was simple to use, simple to navigate, and it just worked brilliantly.
Nice. So I think that's so important when you're doing those longer rides, or even when you're doing the shorter rides, but I can see on a longer ride.
Particularly on the freeway. Like to stick that cruise control on, not have to worry about if you're going over the speed limit.
Yep.
And then it would just slow down if we needed to, and if I needed to crack the throttle on to get past someone, we could do it. It was brilliant. And it even works with the quick shifter.
So how was the quick shifter, and how did it compare with some of the other boxes that you'd ridden?
It was exactly the same as ordinary, but it didn't really matter. So like, boxer quick shifters are not that smooth, but it doesn't really matter because, you know, like I knew what I was getting with that quick shifter.
Yeah, okay.
It was going to be a clunky one. You know, it was absolutely fine. I used it all the time, loved it.
So what else did you love about the RT?
So lots of stuff. So I loved the pullback on the bars and the sort of headstock. It was a really comfortable position. And I even found a lot of the time I'd actually stand on the pegs and ride, and it was still, for such a big bike, it was still really easy to do that.
Okay.
So that was good. Love the wireless charging of the phone. It's got a little compartment on the right-hand side. Flip it open, put your phone in, it charges. Now, my phone case is a little bit thick, so I had to take it out of the case to put it in. No big issue.
I found that with any wireless charging, like not even just in a vehicle, like just on any, like at home, it doesn't work on mine. So that's no biggie.
So that was, I was just taking my phone out each time. Well, it'd be nice if it was a bit thicker, but that's fine. It worked brilliantly, particularly because you're using maps and stuff through the app.
That's excellent.
So everywhere I pull up, I have a fully charged phone.
Yeah, for a long ride as well. That's great to get off like 10 hours of riding and have a fully charged phone.
Yeah. Now the heated grips were a funny one because I thought, oh man, this is a pain. Heated grips are awesome, but you had to get to them through the menu.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, on my old bike, I had a button on the handlebars.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's something, that's a bit of an odd thing. I don't really like that. And then I realised there's these 4 buttons down the side that are programmable. So heated grips and heated seat. So I didn't even have to go into the menu, just click on that and there's your heated grips. Click on the second one, that was the heated seat. So that was brilliant.
Which it makes sense because it's a built-in feature. Like I know a lot of people I know who have, you know, the heated grips. It's because it's an add-on, it's an afterthought, whereas this has been built into
the bike. Yeah. The weather protection, as we said before, was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It's got great storage with those panniers, and you can even put a top box on the back.
Nice.
The other thing with the panniers and everything, it's central locking. So you literally hit a button and walk away, it centrally locks everything. So that was brilliant.
The panniers as well.
The panniers, everything locks.
And can you unlock it as well?
Just by pressing the button. If the key fob is in proximity.
I didn't even know that was a thing for bikes.
Yeah, so that was brilliant.
So cool.
As I said before, easy enough to stand on the pegs to stretch those legs out.
Were you stretching because it was uncomfortable at points, or just
not at all? It was just we're on the bikes for hours, so like I just wanted to stand.
Yeah.
You know, and even through the twisty road standing, it was like I was on like a little dirt bike or like it was honestly. Because of that low centre of gravity and the way that bike handles, it was no issue at all.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was good fun. So there's a couple of different colours. Now, I had the triple black. The triple black, I think that's what it's called. But there's also a racing metallic blue, there's an alpine white, and there's an option 719 in meteoric dust 2 metallic.
Catchy.
Yeah, I know.
So where would it sit for you in the range, and like, would you buy one?
So for me, this is the big question, because I always thought an RT, I'm like, why would you buy one?
Yeah.
The GS is the perfect do-it-all touring bike. Yeah. And if you want to ride a bit sporty, you'd buy the RS. And if you wanted to, you know, do a bit of everything, you'd get the R, because to me, that's like a stripped-back gentleman's hooligan bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the RT was always the one I was like, who the hell's going to buy this thing?
Yeah.
But I've got to say, if you're not doing any off-roading, then the RT is the one that I would buy, simply because it's, I mean, they call the RS the sports tour. I mean, this thing was sporty. Like, it was a seriously sporty ride. And I reckon it's the ultimate tour in the R Series range.
Maybe you'll have to try the GS just so you can compare them.
Well, I'm hoping to get the GS 1300 very soon.
There you go.
So I have ridden the R1250 GS.
Yeah.
And it's a great bike, and if you're going to do off-roading, that's probably the one you're going to go.
Yeah.
But I think if you're never going to take a bike off-road, I think you'd buy the RT, because everything, central locking, panniers, You know, that the panel down the side, the weather protection, everything about the electronic screen, everything about that bike just screams long distance tourer.
Yeah.
And you can just rack up some massive Ks and in perfect comfort.
So if you were to get a touring bike, would you buy this bike?
Yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting question, and it brings us to the competition. So the competition for this bike are bikes like the Honda Goldwing.
Yep.
I think Yamaha still make an FJR 1300. I think that's the other bike the police in New South Wales ride.
Right.
Which kind of makes sense with that and the R1250 RT being, you know, when I say they're sporty, if the police are riding them.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, they're obviously a sporty bike. And the other bikes are BMW's own K1600 range. So would I buy one? Out of all of those, I haven't ridden the K series, so I'm really keen to get on those. I haven't ridden the Yamaha FJR. Actually, I have ridden an old FJR 1300. Shaft drive, yeah, good. Prefer the boxer engine for me. Haven't ridden a Goldwing. I think the Goldwing would be the only Honda that I would ever even consider owning.
Oh.
But I think, yeah, I reckon I would.
Well, go test out all of those bikes
and come back
and then come back to me and let me know.
Yeah, I think I probably would buy the RT. I mean, I love boxers.
Yeah.
They're my kind of bike, and this thing, yeah, I've totally changed my mind on it because it was just the perfect bike for those roads in Tassie.
Yeah. So if you have a tourer and think that we should try it, let us know in the comments and maybe we can do a comparison.
Absolutely. And if you've been to Tasmania, let us know your favourite roads in Tassie, because I reckon absolutely awesome roads, and I can't wait to get back there.
Absolutely. We should be getting the brand new R1300 GS very soon, so we're really keen to bring you a video on that. But here is a playlist of videos that we've done on the other bikes in the R1250 range.